Welcome to another episode of the FlipTech East Coast Podcast, a podcast designed to introduce you to the teacher presenters at this year's conference. This year's conference is being hosted by Collingswood High School on June 29th and 30th and is being presented by the Flip Learning Network. In this episode of the podcast, we introduce you to Jen Duda and Chris Harris. They'll be session co-speakers talking about coding and robots in the special needs classroom. They are co-organizers of SPED Camp, an ed camp specifically designed for teachers of those students with special needs. If you're interested in coming to FlipTech, please visit fliptech.fliplearning.org to register. Again, that's fliptech.fliplearning.org. And now we pick it up with Chris and Jen. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the FlipTech East Coast Podcast. This is a podcast designed to introduce you to presenters at this year's conference. And here we have Jen Duda and Chris Harris, who are going to be presenting this year on coding and robots in the special needs classroom. Chris and Jen, how are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for spending a beautiful spring day in your office recording this.
No problem.
Yeah, we've had a lot of beautiful spring days so far in New Jersey.
Well, this weekend should still be nice. So,
right. Right.
A nice break coming up. That's nice.
So you guys hold the distinction of being the localist presenters we have. We have presenters coming from all over the world. You know,
Nice.
We have Singapore and some contingency from Colombia, and, California is another country heard from. But you guys are about 3 miles from downtown Collingswood. At least that's where you work.
well, that's where you work.
That's where I work.
Okay. I just associate both of you with just one school, so
Okay.
yeah. But for the viewers who don't know about you guys, because you're local phenom, so in the area, I know exactly who you guys are. For the viewers, tell us who you are.
First.
Good. You can go.
All right. My name is Jen Duda. I am a special education teacher. I teach right now, currently this year's 3rd through 6th grade special ed in a self-contained classroom within a district that is solely special ed. I've been teaching for about 10 years now, and the last few years have been actually really exciting, learning a lot about new tech and ways to adapt things to my students.
And Chris, how about you?
I am currently the Director of Technology at Pennsauken Public Schools, and I'm also the principal of the Burling School, which is an elementary school K-4 this year. So I've been in Pennsauken this year, and before that I was at Mercer County Special Services with Jen, and prior to that I was at Salem County Special Services and vocational schools. So I've been in administration for a while, and I love the hands-on, I love vocational stuff, I love the special ed stuff, and I love the tech stuff, which is kind of how I ended up here.
Right. And so let me ask both of you a question. You're on the tech side of the FlipTech. So, we've been interviewing people that are doing Flip Classroom and people who've been doing the tech stuff. So you guys fall on the tech side of the stuff. How long have you been kind of voraciously integrating tech into what you do?
Well, when I was at Salem Vocational, it was a lot of hands-on. We didn't have as much tech. But when I went to the Special Services District, it was an Apple district. They had a lot of stuff there, and we started to do a lot with the kids in that district. And we started with clubs, and that kind of took off from there, which led to Minecraft and more coding. And then when I went to Mercer Special Services, I tried to bring everything that I did at Salem Special Services to Mercer in terms of the tech and the coding and the robots. And, Jen was there, and Jen really ran with the ball. And
I didn't know how to mirror my phone. Like, I didn't know how to mirror, and I didn't know how to mirror off of a tablet. I'm like, what do you mean? Right. Here, let me show you. And then, and then it went, to that big Apple TV behind me. And I was like, oh, mind blown. Okay, we need to talk.
Right.
And that was only a couple of years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years.
So he's like, you have to come to these ed camps because you have to see what all of these other teachers are doing. I mean, we're already kind of in a bubble being a special services district. So he's like, you have to come out and see what all these reg ed teachers are doing and, then come adapt it and allow our kids to do the same types of things.
Yeah. And just naturally, I'm always into tech and toys, as you may have noticed on the shelves behind me. So, the robots and the coding was just kind of like a natural progression in
I think
education.
teachers have a behavior intervention plan for him.
Yes.
That if he's able to stay quiet for like this period to this period, he's allowed to talk about talk about tech for like 5 minutes on a Friday.
That's really funny because a lot of the regular teachers may not know about BIPs, but you bring in BIPs because I think part of your you're specifically targeting some of the special ed folks that are teaching out there, right?
Yes. Well, most of my kids have.
Right. Well, that's right.
But I actually find that using the toys and using the coding and giving them an alternate ways to express their knowledge and be able to do something independently with technology and robots and all this kind of stuff, they're actually, my students, the reduction in behavior, like the negative behavior and the increase of positive behavior is amazing because they're motivated, they're engaged, they get it. It's man versus man, not man versus machine, not man versus man. Like it's something that they inherently understand. So
right. It started with you can do all these things in regular ed, and just I want everybody in the special ed world to have the same experiences. So we started doing clubs and coding and dances, anything you would see in a regular ed school. We tried to do in the special ed world because you're at the mercy of the buses when you're at a county-wide school, so there are no after-school activities. So we had to do everything during the day, and you have a little bit more leeway in a special services district to do those things. And that's where it started. And the idea that everybody can code and do these things, and just in general, the robots and the toys are a great hook. I mean, you don't have to get their attention. You don't have to worry about a do now if you bring out a robot or a drone, whether it's a Sphero or a Cosmo or any of that stuff. It just it gets their attention from the start, and it's a cool toy. But then you flip it and make it educational, so they don't even realize they're learning. And you can see the stuff that Jen posts in our room now, and it's just amazing. That those kids are doing all the stuff that they could do, and a lot of people wouldn't think they could do that stuff. And I just think it's great that they are. Right.
And I totally agree. It's like, that's what you need to provide to all your students is an environment for learning, and it's up to us as the teachers to provide those environments to whatever students you have, whether it's the special education student or the the regular ed student, the super advanced GT student. All of that is important to.
We shouldn't be placing boundaries on any of our students. They should place their own boundaries on themselves. How far do they want to go? And us to encourage them to go farther.
Yeah, and the rule applies is that don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to try something, whether you're staff or students. Don't be afraid to learn along with your students. Don't be afraid if your students know more than you do.
And if you
because a lot of the stuff now with kids, they know more than the teachers do. But that's okay. You'll learn with them. And don't be afraid to try this stuff.
And a lot of the programs that we're going to talk about and show at the tech conference, you don't have to be a computer programmer to pick it up. You don't have to have a
computer science degree.
You don't need that because it's very step by step, and you can learn with them.
More and more, that's the way that companies are developing tech is to make it kind of foolproof so that anybody can kind of get intuitive. All those things.
Well, it's like building your own website years ago required a lot of coding.
It was a nightmare.
And now it's drag and drop. It's you can go on these sites for free and anybody can put a website together. And that's kind of where we're almost at with coding, because there's so many drag and drop apps that you can get. Most of them are free. Some of them charge a little bit, but they might be free for educators. But you have the tablets. You can try the coding. If you have money in your budget, you can bring in the robots to actually have the kids see a really cool project and see what the result of that coding is.
And you can integrate it into like any area. So you don't need to take away from your language arts, your math, your social studies, your science. You can incorporate the robots into any subject area, even though they're all supposed to be integrated at this point anyway.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Right.
Well, let me ask you guys a question, because I know you guys personally from ed camps that you do in the area, and you guys kind of travel together doing things. I know that you probably do things separately as well, but you're kind of the Wonder Twins there that you guys have. But have you guys ever present?
Thanks, Bibliana.
What's that?
I said, who coined us that? I think it was Bibliana, right? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Bibliana.
We've embraced it.
All I know is it's right over each of your shoulders, right in between your heads in my shot.
That's right.
Here, so yeah, right. Nonetheless, have you guys? What's your kind of history presenting? Have you presented before at kind of conferences, or is this going to be your first big conference, or what's the scoop?
Well, we started
Through ed camps.
We started through ed camps, and I tried to get
a good way to just get your
teachers
feet
to get
wet,
out and get their feet wet. And it started, I think our presentation started, I mean, we do a few different presentations, but, with the coding, it's kind of started more as a conversation, and it kind of turned into a presentation, and it kind of morphed into, more interactive.
Right, now let's play,
Yeah, because people just love the hands-on.
Like now, okay, we're going to show you, we'll tell you about it, we'll show you what it is, but now you're going to come up and you actually have to participate in races.
And have fun.
Most importantly, have fun.
Yeah, but to answer your question, this would be the first, I guess, official conference.
Right.
Right.
We presented
not on the ed camp level.
Yeah. We were at Ryder, I think was the last thing we did.
We presented for their student union.
For their student union. So it was small, but it was nice. And it was fun. And,
But like we just, we love ed camps and we love coffee EDUs, and we try to attend, a couple a month depending on the location. And, most of the ones in New Jersey we've probably been to and presented at, and the coffee EDUs as well. It's just a great place to network with people. I've met the best people.
I really like people.
And made some great connections in terms of, education.
Yeah. What then making the jump from kind of the unconference model, ed camp, what motivated you to put in a proposal for Flip Tech?
Well, when I was at Salem County VOTEC, we tried to flip with a few teachers, and that was, it was several years ago. So the tech wasn't quite there. We didn't have the tech in the schools, and they tried it a little bit, but I was always interested in it. But then I went to the special ed world, which it's really hard to try to do that in the special needs world.
I'm trying.
And now I'm back in the regular ed world. So I'd like to kind of pursue that again because, even though I'm principal of an elementary school, I'm also director of tech for the entire district. So, in terms of the tech, I'm responsible for, things going on to the high school, the middle school. And I would love to try to get some of that going here, on the elementary level. But, it's something that's always interested me.
Okay. I would love to do it, but I've incorporated some things with Flipgrid and so on and so forth, and parent engagement using Flipgrid. And I mean, I would like to do more with it, but I'm building on some ground.
And one of the things that I want to make sure doesn't get buried is that, part of flip, whether you flip or don't flip, part of every classroom, in my opinion, has to integrate some sort of technology. So the tech part of this isn't necessarily the tech just related to flipping. The tech part of it can also be robots and coding, or it can be Minecraft. The gentleman coming from Singapore is talking about gamification, and he's talking about gamification and how he's using Minecraft and things like that, which may or may not have anything to do with flip learning. So, I think that tech piece is really important, and we're very thankful as the organizing team to have you two presenting something that's more tech heavy than kind of, on the flip side of it. Well,
we're at the point where, the tech has come down in price, so everything's affordable, and districts are going one-to-one. In Pennsauken, we're going one-to-one in a school each year. So this year we went one-to-one in our intermediate school. Next year it's going to be the middle school, and every year after that there's going to be another school that's going to go one-to-one. So, it's a big process, but, Chromebooks, they're not that expensive. We're a Google district, so, all those things are integrated in all the classrooms now. We're going to try to push Google Classroom, and, the fun stuff for me is when you start to incorporate the robots and the coding. And you can put in your computer science curriculum. You can use that too.
I mean, again, because you can use that in any subject that you're teaching, and they can use that as part of their projects to show what they've learned. They can present it using Flipgrid. They can, you don't have to sit like this in front and talk if they don't have, or they have low.
Not that this isn't fun.
Right, fun. Right, yeah.
Sometimes it's a little much, for some of my students who might have lower verbal skills.
Well, and AJ Bianco, who is one of the organizers for Ed Camp New Jersey, he's coming to the conference and he's presenting on student choice, and that sort of ownership. And this is kind of a natural extension as well, that, when you integrate tech, it gives you more opportunity for choice, as opposed to the old days when you used to have to run the Mimeo and you used to have to make
the Ditto machine.
The Dittos,
yeah,
right?
Well, just show me what you know. Right. Show me what you know. And I don't care how you show me. I want to.
It's at the point where you don't need the computer labs anymore. It's in the classrooms.
Right. I mean, this is a perfect lead-in to talk, and we've hit some of these points before this, but I think it's important for you to spend a little bit of time and discuss what you're actually presenting on. What's your presentation going to be?
Well, we start off with some coding. We go over some of the stuff that we've used in the classrooms and some of the stuff that's been successful with Gen students. From there, we usually go into some of the robots that we use, and it depends on who's in the room, because sometimes people are more familiar than others. So if they're more familiar with it, then we might jump ahead a little bit to the hands-on, and then we'll actually start coding. In terms of the robots that we usually bring with us, we have Ozobots, the Bits and the Evos, which are great for tabletop activities, great for elementary school kids. And then we have some Sphero Sparks that we bring. We have a bunch of those. We have an educator pack that we take with us, so everybody has a chance to use those. And that's when we usually set up the little obstacle course where people can start to play with how to actually code it. And then we actually
not just use it as a choice.
Yeah, not just use it as a toy. The idea is to actually make them use it and make it useful for coding. And then we have a parrot drone that we usually bring out. Usually don't get around to coding that one, but we might make an exception for the Flip conference this time.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that we're doing, because this is a 2-day conference, is on the first day we're doing the kind of the presenter-driven model, but then on the second day, if people are clamoring to know all about the bots and the coding, we're having the unconference style, but we're also having workshop stuff. So there's an opportunity if people want to really get their hands dirty, if you're willing to let people use your Ozobots and Spheros.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's where we bring them.
That's where we bring them. Yeah.
Well, we want people to experience it and get their hands dirty. I'm a big proponent of hands-on education. I was in a vocational district. I have a degree in automotive technology. I love working with my hands, and not quite the same thing with the robots, but you get to actually see what that coding does and make it real and make it fun.
Right. My guess is that if you have robots, I can't guarantee anything, but my guess is if you have robots, you're going to have a couple of people at this conference excited to hang out with you guys.
Awesome. That's pretty cool.
Awesome.
You can do that.
Right. And I think it's important for us to talk about, who's your target audience? Who's going to come to your presentation and get the most out of it? Now, Jen, you're 3 to 6, right? Well, not 4 to 6.
Again, my school that I teach at is 3rd through 8th grade.
Okay.
And every year it can be different what grade levels I teach. Typically, now we actually have a really awesome curriculum thanks to Principal Harris, because I can differentiate everything and have it in the same group, which is awesome. I'm not doing 5 different curriculums at the same time. It's one curriculum. It's so it frees up a lot of time for me. But cognitively, my kids are around pre-K to 2nd grade.
And what about which teachers you want to target? Do you think everybody's going to do you think high school,
our presentation is coding and robots in the special needs classroom to show people that those kids can do that stuff. But it really applies to everybody, because it's the same programs that you would use in a regular ed class. It's the same robots you would buy, the same devices, iPads, Android tablets. But it's really when we started doing it.
And there's programs that are a little bit more difficult, or more challenging for students that can read and type.
Different types of motor skills and things.
Yeah.
Right. So.
When we started doing this, we were both in the special services district, so that's why we kind of geared it towards, the special needs students.
And that's awesome. I think that's great. And then part of coming to the conference is, yes, presenting your awesomeness, which I'm super excited. I haven't had an interview with somebody where I just have wanted to have, where I haven't wanted to sit in the front row. I want to be there for everybody's interview. I am here for everybody's interview. There hasn't been an interview that I haven't had that I haven't wanted to sit in everybody's presentation. It seems like everybody's got some sort of take that kind of agrees with what I feel in terms of, education, where education should be and what people should be doing in their classroom. Now, whether I can do all that in my own classroom, you can only do so much. But I guess the question goes that if you're going to be presenting, you have a time slot. It's going to be great. We're looking forward to it. But the other part is you get to be an attendee. You get to be an attendee. You get to show up to the conference.
I'm so excited.
So what do you hope to take from the conference?
I would actually like to learn some more ways to how people are flipping their classrooms and what strategies they're using, and how I might be able to go beyond using it as parent engagement. For my students, I have my students, for example, on back to school night. I had the kids present through Flipgrid. They all made it, the Flipgrid, they responded to it. And they introduced their classroom and their teacher to their parent. So then,
that's awesome.
So all the parents got to see it and everyone was looking. And then I'm like, and here's the really fun part. And they all looked at me. I said, now it's your turn. And, all the moms, start fixing their hair like I've been doing this whole interview. And, and the dad, there's one dad that came and I'm like, well, who's going to go first? And all the females looked at the dad and he was like, all right, I'll go first. And so all the parents made a video, and the next day, and it was like words of encouragement. Like, what do they want to tell their kid about how awesome their year is going to be? And then when the kids came in the next morning, two parents couldn't go, and they actually did it from their home because you can use Flipgrid like that, and sent it in to me so that all the kids got to see their parents on TV.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they're like, that's my mom, that's my mom. I mean, there was one kid a different Flipgrid I actually had to put in for one of my students, which is fine. But they saw me on the screen and they were like, that's you, it's Miss Jen. I'm like, I'm standing in front of you all day long. And I'm on the computer, like I'm on the TV screen. Now it's like, I know her.
That's really funny. How about you, Principal Harris? And yes, that's a shameless plug for your Twitter handle.
Principal_H.
Oh, right.
Very original.
Yeah. Super close, though. That was
close. It was close.
It's
all good.
Right.
Well,
thank you.
I think, part of being an educator is, finding out what goes on, finding out what's new, staying cutting edge, seeing what's out there. And the best way to do that is to go to as many conferences or ed camps as you can, just to see what people are doing. And, there's no point in recreating the wheel. If you find something that's really amazing that somebody's doing, talk to that person and see what they have to offer and network a little bit and try to bring it back to your district. Because in the end, it's really all about kids. And, wherever I go, I just make, two mandates wherever I work. Number one, make it fun. And number two, make it about the kids. And if you follow those two rules, you're going to have a great time, and everybody's going to have a great time at a place where they want to be, not where they have to be. So part of that is, going out to conferences, going out to ed camp, sharing what we do, and then also taking back some of the stuff that we find out. And like we said, we've gone to a ton of ed camps and coffee EDUs, and we've met a lot of great people, and we've made a lot of connections, and
learned a lot of stuff.
Breakout EDUs and Minecraft EDUs, and all the gamification stuff that you mentioned earlier. It's just, Steve Isaacs is great. He does a lot of that. He's a Minecraft mentor, and he's a great guy. And he's one of the first people I met, I think, when I started going to ed camps, years ago.
And his wife.
And we still keep in touch. And his wife, Abby's amazing too.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know how they do it.
I mean, we could probably rattle off a laundry list of amazing educators in the tri-state area that we met and we're friends with because we've just gone to these things and we share ideas and Twitter chats, and it's amazing.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question. The digital citizen in me has to ask the question before I ask the question.
Okay.
So, in the interest of full disclosure for the audience, I sent you each of you a list of questions, which we've kind of muddled our way through here in this interview. But I was hoping to ask each of you a surprise question that you couldn't prepare for.
Excellent.
Are you okay with that?
I'm going to tell you right now, that's really good because I did not read your questions that you had emailed me. I'm like, that's fine. I'm just going to wing it.
Right. Well, and it's not like I'm asking you to solve all the problems of the earth here. It's something that you're passionate about, obviously, from talking to you. So I'm sure that, you guys.
Like, what could possibly go wrong?
Okay. So does that mean you're going first, Jen?
Sure.
Go for it.
So I'm going to ask you each a different question. So that's the thing. So, okay. Jen, my guess is you said you've been teaching, this is not my guess, but you said you've been teaching 10 years-ish or so, right?
Yes.
And probably in those 10 years, your classroom looks completely different as you've evolved as a teacher. Is that true? Okay, so if you were to pick 3 words that describe your classroom today, and I don't mean, the day during spring break when there's nobody in it. Okay. But I mean, in general, if you could pick 3 words to describe your classroom, what 3 words would you pick? And then afterwards you can describe why you picked those 3 words. But
Okay. All right. So I would pick safe.
Mm-hmm.
I would pick energetic.
Okay.
And fun.
Safe, energetic, and fun. Okay. Do you have any explanation for those, or are they self-explanatory?
I feel like safe, my students feel safe. My students feel safe, not just physically feel safe. I'm going to keep them safe. But I feel like as I'm navigating this whole teacher-centered approach to more of a student-led approach with students who are still learning some functional communication skills, which are kind of important for having the student-led classroom. But as I'm doing that, they are coming up and presenting with me. So we will learn, a new science song every month. So every month, in relation to the curriculum, we learn and sign a song. And they will stand up with me and take turns and volunteer. And that's them taking on the role of presenting in front of their peers. And they're willing to do things that make them a little bit uncomfortable, because they know that if they start getting frustrated, I will navigate it so that they are successful and have just learned something really cool.
Yeah, and I think that safe is a good word to use, not just for the special education population, but for all the kids. It's hard to say failure is an option when kids don't feel safe to fail,
Right. I have a parent who actually just sent me a text message video of her daughter. Now, her daughter was just moved into my classroom a few months ago, and she was having a really hard time on the bus, and she was having a really hard time in school. And within 2 weeks of being in my classroom, she's running out to the bus every day. So she's running out, she waits by the door. And so, she videoed it. She goes, this is, so-and-so, waiting for her Miss Jen. And she just runs out to the bus. She gets right in the bus. The bus driver, she waits back. She goes, it's a miracle. It's a miracle.
That's a
but
great
she
story.
wants to be there. So,
but that's all about creating a place where, kids want to be.
Right.
It's fun. It's energetic. They want to be there and they want to learn.
Right.
I think it's a great thing. Yeah, it's a great thing. And if you follow Jen on Twitter, you see some of the stuff she posts in the room. Like, it's a great environment. Like, it's a great classroom.
Right. Okay, so Chris, are you ready for your question?
I'm not gonna make me calculate pi to some crazy insane number because. Okay.
Dang it! I'll have to come up with another one. No. And so again, I'm sure that your practice as an educator has evolved over the years that you've been teaching. You probably do things way different now than you did back then, and probably some of your beliefs and your own personal educational manifesto probably has changed and things like that. So go back in time to what I would call pre-Enlightenment days, whatever that is, whether it's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And if you could give yourself advice, what would that advice be?
That's a good question. I don't know. The question is phrased in such a way that, you were teaching one way and then something happened and you think of a different philosophy now. So I've always kind of been the same no matter what position I've been.
Okay.
I think if you just follow, I think if you keep it all about the students and you make it fun and, priority number one is the kids, I think you can't go wrong. And, when I was a teacher, I made it all about the kids. I became an assistant principal. I was supposed to do discipline. And the kids probably got along with me more than anybody else in the school because I got to know the kids, on a personal level. And, they respected me for that and I respected them and we got along great. And, when they made me a principal, it was the same thing. I get to know the people and the students and, I think they appreciate the fact that I'm honest and that I just tell it like it is and that I just cut through, a lot of the stuff just to make it, clear and to the point. And as long as you make it about the kids and you make it fun, and you're still teaching, you're still educating, you're still doing all that stuff, but there's a way to make it fun and exciting. And that's what I always try to do no matter where I'm at.
And kind of the inspiration for your question, Chris, comes from, I feel like if you can go back in time and kind of think about who you were maybe in your younger years, and what would you say to get you to the point that you are now more quickly? No,
I don't know.
So, but the point is that, if you're willing to give yourself that advice, then it's probably pretty good, sound educational advice for the audience, for any teacher that's listening or any educator that's listening.
I would say always be true to yourself then.
Right.
Always be true to yourself and do what's right. And then you never have to worry about the politics. You never have to worry about the craziness. You never have to worry about all that stuff that happens.
Well, and I was willing to even give you a pass to say that, and so if that's the advice, is to keep it about the kids and to keep it fun, then that's exactly what you need to be telling people. Whether you've changed or had an enlightenment moment, that's not necessarily.
I don't think I had an enlightenment moment. Well, maybe in a way. When I was in school, I didn't care about school. I didn't want to be at school. I didn't get it why I was there, and I did it, but I worked, and it wasn't until after high school that I decided to go back to school. And it was at that point I decided to go for automotive technology because I like cars. I like old Mustangs. I had a few old Mustangs. Still have an old Mustang. And then it just kind of took off from there. I just got into education, and I think a lot of it was just maturity. But I don't think you can change the things that happen to you in life. I don't think you can go back in time and change it, because all those life experiences kind of make you who you are.
Right.
So it'd be nice if I could go in a time machine and pull my 16-year-old self aside and say, don't do that, try this. But maybe I wouldn't end up in the same spot.
Right. You never know. It's like the Marty McFly conundrum, right?
Yeah. I want some guy pulling up in a DeLorean out front, and causing all kind of chaos.
Right. So I think that's all the questions I have for you guys, and I really want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your day on this, on this beautiful day in spring. It really is a beautiful day in spring here in New Jersey, and so I just really appreciate you guys taking the time for this.
Thank you for having us.
We do a shameless plug for our SPED camp.
Yeah, shameless plugs are actually welcome. Or it's at right.
Yeah, it's going to be Saturday, April 14th at Long Branch Middle School. And it's obviously it's called SPED camp, so the focus is on special education, but it's really open to everybody.
Everybody can come.
There's going to be a lot of presenters there. We have a lot of giveaways. Have a makerspace set up. We're going to have Milo, the robot, is going to be there.
Yeah,
so it's going to be some fun stuff.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'd like to thank Jen and Chris for joining me today, and they're going to be speaking at Flip Tech East Coast about coding and robots in the special needs classroom. And so that's going to be them, and thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Flip Tech East Coast podcast. We hope that you join us at the conference. Again, for more information or to register, please visit fliptech.fliplearning.org. Again, that website is fliptech.fliplearning.org, and we can't wait to see you there.